Hey everybody, welcome to the first of a three-part series comparing three different gravity smokers. We'll be comparing my Old Country to an Assassin 17 to the Masterbuilt 560. As mentioned in my last video, we'll be using the same wood, the same charcoal, the same cut of meat from the same store, and the same technique and rub recipe across everything. So the rub itself, it's going to be the same one that I used in the pork butt video. I'll list the recipe down below in the description. We're using Royal Oak. It's always been fantastic in this smoker. I do know that lump sometimes causes bridging issues in the Assassin 17. I've only seen it once using various different types of cowboy charcoal. So we'll see how that works with the Royal Oak in this. And then the Masterbuilt 560, my buddy hasn't used lump in it. He uses briquettes almost exclusively. So we'll see how that runs in that one as well. So just lit it up, we'll let it come up to temperature, and we'll get the ribs rubbed down. We'll get them thrown on here in a minute. I also want to run you through some of the mods that I've done to this smoker since the last time we discussed it. Hey guys, one of the big mods that I made to the smoker since I picked it up about 9 months ago was to add this heat shield made of fire brick. Took a couple measurements, the total width and length, and I went over to Home Depot, bought one of the 6-pack of fire brick, cut it all down into shape, glued it together with some cement, and let it harden. My original mock-ups also have another piece on the right side here that'll come down all the way down to the bottom. Just need to get that trimmed up and epoxied into place. But the fire brick on top and on the side right here already show I think an 18-degree difference from right to left, bringing things much more even across the entire grate. It was a tremendous improvement, and the last brisket that I cooked with it came out exceptionally well. This will be the first time I'm cooking pork spare ribs using the heat shield, but it had such great results. I can't imagine these turning out any differently. As mentioned in my last video, the other major mod that I did to the smoker was swapping from the Barbecue Guru Party Q to the ThermoWorks billows and signal setup. The two devices work exceptionally well. I highly recommend this setup to anybody running an Old Country smoker. Just got done adding water to the water pan. Have about a gallon. The Old Country definitely needs a water pan inside of it. For the Assassin 17, you'll see that we really don't. The Assassin just retains moisture so well. The Old Country, I'm not sure what it is necessarily about the design, but I personally have so much greater quality barbecue by using a water pan. Definitely recommend it. I like to keep it on that bottom shelf where the heat deflector comes out. I guess that's what you call it. Just threw another piece of oak in there. By the time that this comes up to temperature and have the ribs rubbed down, that should be starting to burn. You can already smell it now. It smells wonderful. Let's come back in just a second and throw on some ribs. So here's what we got going on. The trimmings, I have these dusted down with that rub. These make great snacks as everything is coming off the smoker. Absolutely love it. And then we got 3 racks themselves. This one's pretty monstrous. This pig must have been the size of a cow. The other two a whole lot smaller, but because this side is so much larger, we're aiming this one towards the firebox. Let me throw these on. I'll talk to you a little bit more about what we're doing for today's technique. All right, today's technique, we'll be cooking at 250 degrees. It's coming back up to temperature now, and we'll cook it for about an hour and a half. We'll wrap it with some apple juice, butter, and honey, and when it comes off 1.5 hours later, should be at about an internal temperature of 190. We'll throw it back on the smoker at 250, bring it up to about 203, 205. We'll be probing it for that doneness, and we're looking for a nice bite through texture. I personally like a little bit of density to it. I don't like so much of a completely fall off the bone texture. I think we might see that with one of the racks as I was taking off that back membrane. Definitely have some ribs showing. We'll see how that turns out. I personally look for the ribs to start showing at the end of the 1.5 hour mark. If the ribs aren't showing, I'll typically leave it on. And that's why I'm using an estimate for most of it. I don't have a technical approach. These aren't quite competition, but I do take some influences from that competition style, such as that bite-through texture. It's all personal preference. I would encourage everybody to cook and smoke whatever you want, however you want it. You know, let's come back in a few minutes and we'll wrap the ribs. One of the other fun projects I have going on is this trailer grill. This was essentially given to me. Older gentleman doing a little bit of spring cleaning. A friend of a friend reached out to me, asked me if I'd be interested in it. So I said, hell yes. The only thing that it needed, besides removing all the rust and repainting, I had to replace the tires in order to trailer at home. So I ran to Northern Tool, picked up 2 of them, threw it on, picked it up real easy. Both sides roll open. I have a top grate here. Gonna take this to a local fabrication shop. There's spot welds everywhere, all across the structural pieces and all along the edges. I'm having to replace this top diamond or whatever type of steel this is. It's pretty thick. I think it should be really easy to replace. Just seen so much heat and use throughout its life that it warped everything. The charcoal grates down here, there's actually 3 levels to it. It's currently on the highest setting. The meat grate is at its tallest setting. I can get probably about 2 foot clearance between the 2 grates. I think it'd be absolutely perfect for some direct heat barbecue during the summer after I get this cleaned up and the grate replaced. Looking at making ribs, trailers everywhere to football games, baseball games, and have a little bit of a party with it. It's gonna take a little bit of effort and a little bit of TLC, but I am really excited for this, especially considering I only have $100 invested in it. I also need to replace the wiring harness. The brake lights didn't work, but all in all, for what this is, I think this is an excellent pickup, and I can't wait to have it cleaned up and ready for use. We're at the 1.5 hour mark, showing pretty rock steady at our 250 set. Let's take a look at them. We're looking for the seasoning to set and to pull away from the bone. Starting to see some pull on the back. Still a little tacky. Let's leave them in for about another 30 minutes. Another 30 minutes has passed. Let's check on. Yep, this is what we want. Look at that color. Starting to pull right on the leading edge. It's exactly what we want. Bark. It's definitely set. Let's wrap them. Just to show you this color. And a little bit of spring to them. You can cook that out and the wrap. Look at these guys. Yes, sir. Little rib bits. Let's wrap these suckers, throw them back in. All right, so I'm gonna take butter, throw it down in the center. There's a little bit of honey. gonna take one of the racks of ribs, place the meat down. Hands real quick. And then make a little boat. We're doing this is we're going to pour a little bit of apple juice in there, and this will keep the apple juice in it until we can finish wrapping. And pour about 1 to 2 ounces and underneath, a little bit across the back. And then be careful of the bones. The bones can puncture the aluminum foil. And she's wrapped. We'll do that for the next 2. Turn them back on. Now we're gonna probe them. If they're sitting at about 190 or so, we'll unwrap them. Oh yeah, looking perfect. Show that right in there. And about 195. So let's unwrap them, throw them back on. Another 45 minutes to an hour, these will be done. So in case nobody's ever seen one of these, this is an oil separator. With the ribs, as soon as I pull them out and throw them back on the smoker, all the leftover juice and butter and sugar and honey and rib fat, the rendered fat down, I pour off into an oil separator and I drain off a small portion to serve with the ribs. And I tell you what, this is an amazing thing to serve in place of a barbecue sauce. If you're one of those types that feels that barbecue sauce masks good barbecue, what you're doing is you're serving the essentially au jus from the ribs back onto itself. Myron Mixon does this with his briskets, his competition briskets. And obviously he's one of the most winningest competition barbecuers out there. So take one, write this down, buy one of these, use it, thank me later. All right, I have these pulled off. They've been resting a short period of time. Let's flip them over and cut in. Now let's baste a little bit and dive in. All that honey and butter and apple juice, it's really going to amplify everything that's already going on with these. Take this one right here. I think that's solid, real solid. Proper amount of smoke. I think they're just a hair too tender compared to what I usually prefer. But that came out great. Pulled them off when they hit 205. That was about that 45-minute mark, as I mentioned before. Absolutely do it again. Let's see how these turn out on the Assassin 17. That's next in this series.